The gates of the arena of Dominion opened with a sound like the cracking of a planet's spine. Billions roared. From orbit to the lowest tiers, beings of 1,000 worlds leaned forward in collective hunger. The dome's field shimmered with color, blues and golds rippling across the sky like a living aurora. Announcers screamed in a dozen languages. The Tauran Dominion presents its champion, Korath the Unbroken. The ground trembled. A colossal figure emerged, scaled and armored in organic plates that pulsed with faint bioluminescence. His claws scraped against the black obsidian floor, leaving gouges that smoked. The crowd chanted his name, a rhythm of thunder and pride that made the air vibrate. Korath lifted his spear and bellowed, his voice amplified across the world. "Who dares challenge Dominion?" Silence followed. A silence so sharp that even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the opposite gate, a figure stepped out, small, unarmored, utterly human. No weapon. No shield. No enhancement. Just bare hands, steady breath, and eyes like winter steel. Introducing humanity's representative, Captain Evelyn Drake of Earth. The laughter came instantly, a wave that crashed down from every level of the Colosseum. Evelyn kept walking. Her boots clicked softly on the obsidian floor. Every step measured unhurried. The difference between them was absurd. Korath towered over her, 3 times her height, his armor alive and gleaming with alien muscle memory. She looked like a civilian who had walked into a monster's cathedral by mistake. Above, in the command box, alien dignitaries exchanged amused glances. "Primitive," one murmured. "They send prey to the predator." Another smirked. "Perhaps they believe pity will save them." Evelyn stopped at the center mark, exactly 12 meters from Korath. She didn't look at the crowd. She looked only at him. He tilted his head, voice dripping contempt. "You came without a weapon? Is this how humans beg for mercy?" Her reply was almost conversational. "Mercy isn't in our vocabulary." He laughed, a deep, resonant sound like tectonic plates grinding. "You've seen the archives. I have killed 6,000 challengers. Entire species have fallen before my spear. Your bones will join theirs." Evelyn's expression didn't change. "Then let's see if you can add one more." The crowd erupted again, mocking her calm, her arrogance. The arena's sensors picked up her vitals, resting heart rate 59 BPM, no adrenaline spike. Commentators whispered, "She's either fearless or broken." Korath circled her slowly, his claws clicking, tail sweeping across the stone. "You're smaller than I expected." Evelyn watched his movements, noting weight distribution, muscle flex, weapon length, stance balance. "You're slower than I expected." That drew a hiss from him. The ground cracked under his footstep. "You dare!" "Start the trial," she interrupted softly. A chime rang through the air. The arena floor flared to life, a grid of light outlining boundaries. The match had begun. Korath struck first. He lunged, the ground exploding under his step, spear sweeping in an arc meant to bisect her in one motion. Evelyn moved barely a hand's width, a tilt of the shoulder, a pivot of the hip, and the weapon sliced empty air. The shockwave lifted her hair but not her composure. Korath snarled, recalibrated, and swung again. The spear came down like a meteor. She sidestepped, caught the shaft with one hand, and used his momentum to pivot out of range. It was like redirecting a landslide with a whisper. The crowd gasped. No one dodged the Unbroken twice. From the stands, a Kvari warlord muttered, "She's reading him." "How?" Evelyn straightened, hands loose at her sides. "You rely too much on power," she said, voice clear. "It makes you predictable." Korath roared and stabbed forward, faster this time, feints, reversals, fluid strikes that could shatter tanks. Evelyn ducked, turned, let each blow miss by inches. Dust rose around her, cut by streaks of plasma from the spear's edge. She was not faster, but she was efficient. Every motion was survival distilled to art. Korath overextended on the 7th strike. Evelyn stepped in, palm open, and struck the joint beneath his collar plate. The impact echoed like a gunshot. His body jerked, armor flickered. He staggered back, staring in disbelief at the blood dripping down his chest. A human had drawn first blood. The entire arena went silent. Evelyn's voice was quiet. "That's one." Korath stared down at the wound, then at her. "You dare touch me?" His voice was pure venom. "I will crush you until your species forgets your name." "Then hurry," she said. "You're bleeding time." The insult ignited him. He charged, each step a quake. Evelyn sprinted backward, pivoted, ducked low beneath a horizontal sweep, and slammed her elbow into the tendon behind his knee. The armor cracked. He roared again, swinging wildly. She moved in a blur of precision, always just outside reach, always forcing him to commit to strikes too heavy to retract. Each miss made him slower, angrier, sloppier. The crowd began to murmur. The laughter died. Something unfamiliar was creeping in, curiosity. In the observation deck, a CERN diplomat whispered, "This human. She fights like she's seen death too many times to fear it." The announcer's voice faltered mid-sentence, uncertain how to describe what was happening. Korath was no longer a god, he was a beast chasing a ghost. He thrust one final time, overextending, and Evelyn slid beneath the spear, planting both feet and driving upward with all her strength. Her palms struck his jaw, snapping his head back. His own momentum betrayed him. He stumbled, armor sparking, spear embedding itself into the arena wall with a metallic scream. Evelyn stood behind him, silent, breathing evenly. He turned slowly, fury boiling off him. "You think this is victory?" She met his gaze. "No. This is the part where you start making mistakes." He charged again, pure rage now, no strategy. She pivoted, slipped inside his reach, and struck once, twice, solar plexus, throat. The alien staggered, choking. He tried to backhand her, claws grazing her shoulder. She didn't flinch. She twisted his arm, redirected the force, and slammed his face into the obsidian floor. The ground shuddered. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The great Korath touched the ground. Evelyn stepped back, eyes never leaving him. Her lip was split, blood trickling down her chin, but she smiled faintly. "Strong," she said, voice calm. "But you fight like you've never had to lose." He rose slowly, disbelief mingling with hatred. "You." His voice was low now, ragged. "You mock me." "I'm teaching you," she said. The announcer's voice cracked as he tried to fill the silence. "The human still stands. The unbroken has bled. History." "Stop talking," Evelyn muttered. The crowd leaned forward, frozen between awe and horror. Korath bared his fangs, breathing hard. "You will die slowly." Evelyn tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Maybe. But not today." He lunged again, reckless, weaponless, all strength and no grace. She dropped low, rolled under his strike, came up behind him, and whispered, "You're strong, Korath. But strength isn't evolution." The round timer chimed. The first session ended. Korath froze mid-swing as the arena lights dimmed. Evelyn stepped back to her corner, calm as ever. The crowd erupted, not with laughter, but disbelief. Commentators scrambled to find words. "The human survives, no, dominates the first round?" Evelyn ignored them all. She wiped the blood from her mouth, looking at her opponent with quiet precision. Korath glared at her across the field, nostrils flaring, pride wounded beyond repair. For the first time in a century, he looked uncertain. And Evelyn Drake, unarmed, unarmored, unafraid, whispered under her breath, so low only the arena mics caught it. "Now we start." The intermission lights dimmed across the colossal arena. For the first time in recorded history, the audience of billions wasn't cheering. They were waiting, nervous, confused, enthralled. The screens replayed slow-motion footage of the unthinkable, a human dodging a Dominion champion's strike, drawing his blood, and standing over him without fear. Analysts from across the galaxy shouted theories, hidden tech, gravity manipulation, genetic tampering, but the truth was simpler. She had read him like an open book. Beneath the arena floor, Evelyn Drake sat in the preparation chamber, a cube of stone and humming machinery. A med drone floated near her shoulder, offering stimulants and nanite repair. She ignored it. Her eyes were closed, breath even. The voice of her handler crackled through the calm implant. Evelyn, the galaxy's losing its mind. You've got every intelligence bureau watching. You want to tell me what the hell that was? She spoke without opening her eyes. Observation. He telegraphs every movement. Too much reliance on intimidation. You humiliated a war god. He's not going to hold back next round. I'm counting on it. The handler hesitated. You're unarmed. If he kills you... He won't. She opened her eyes. He doesn't understand what's happening yet. He's afraid of the idea that he can lose. The channel went silent for a moment. Then the voice softened. You sure about this, Drake? She flexed her hand, still bruised from striking Korath's armor. I've fought worse than gods. Up above, Korath paced his waiting chamber like a caged storm. The wounds along his neck and chest glowed faintly as his armor sealed them shut. The Dominion healers stood at a distance. None dared speak. He stared into the mirrored wall, watching his reflection flicker. The image glared back, humiliated. A small figure entered, a Dominion tactician, one of his advisors. My lord, the council is watching the feed. They say. They mock me. Korath growled. They whisper that the human made me bleed. The advisor hesitated. Perhaps you underestimated her. The species is unpredictable. Korath turned, eyes burning molten red. Unpredictable? They are animals with language. Animals don't win rounds in the arena, the advisor said quietly. Korath's hand shot out, claws gripping the alien's throat. She will die. Slowly. I will peel her apart and make her scream every note of her species' anthem before I silence her. The advisor choked, nodding rapidly. Korath released him, shoving him away. Leave me! As the advisor fled, Korath turned back toward the reflection. Beneath the rage, a seed of something else had begun to bloom, a feeling he hadn't known in 100 years. Doubt. The second round began with no announcement. The arena lights dimmed, the crowd's silence broken only by the sound of the energy shields reactivating. Evelyn stepped into the light again, calm and unarmed. Across from her, Korath emerged in full ceremonial armor, thicker than before, glistening like liquid iron. His spear burned with crimson energy. The difference between them was obscene. But this time, no one laughed. He pointed the spear toward her. Last chance, human. Kneel. Die quickly. Evelyn brushed dust from her sleeve. Last chance, alien. Think. His teeth bared. You have none. She smiled faintly. Neither did we once. The sound that came from him wasn't a laugh. It was fury sharpened into focus. He lunged, faster than before, his weapon cutting red arcs through the air. Evelyn ducked under the first strike, pivoted left, but the second caught her side. The edge tore through fabric, searing flesh. Pain flashed like lightning. She gritted her teeth, stepped back, breathing slow. Korath grinned for the first time. Ah. The human bleeds. She met his gaze. Finally paying attention? He roared, attacking again. Each strike thundered. The obsidian floor fractured. Evelyn dodged narrowly, each movement precise, deliberate. She wasn't faster, she was timing him. The more he pressed, the more she read the rhythm. His arrogance made him sloppy. His predictability made him doomed. She ducked beneath another spear swing, pivoted on one heel, and kicked into the joint beneath his shoulder. Armor cracked again. Korath spun, furious, backhanding her across the jaw. The impact sent her sprawling. Blood sprayed across the black floor. The crowd gasped. Evelyn wiped her lip, spat red, and pushed herself up slowly. You hit harder when you're angry, she said. Korath sneered. You hit only when I allow it. Then stop allowing it. That cut deeper than any blade. He struck again, roaring. She sidestepped the swing, caught the shaft of the spear, and turned her body with it, using his momentum to twist him off balance. She slammed her knee into his chest plate. The armor splintered again, small cracks, but real. The crowd didn't cheer or boo. They held their breath. Korath recovered, but his breathing had changed, faster now, unsteady. His attacks grew brutal, desperate. Evelyn stayed on the move, forcing him to chase. Her mind was cold, detached, calculating. Step heavy. Balance left. Overcommit on forward thrust. Weight in the shoulder. Hit there. Every heartbeat was data. Every strike a mistake catalogued. Minutes passed like lifetimes. Both bled. Korath swung his spear in a wide arc, missing by inches. Evelyn stepped forward, inside the radius, and drove her elbow into his throat. He gagged, stumbling backward. She seized the opportunity, kicking low, snapping the tendons in his left knee. The alien dropped to one side. She circled him slowly. "You don't fight. You perform," he snarled, forcing himself upright. "And you? What are you?" Her voice was calm. "A reminder." He swung again, a blind fury strike. She dodged, caught the back of his neck, and smashed his head into the wall of the arena. The sound echoed through the air like thunder. The announcer stammered, "The human has driven the champion to his knees." Evelyn stepped back, chest heaving but composed. Korath rose, staggering. The glowing patterns in his armor flickered erratically. "This isn't possible," he rasped. "No human, no primitive, can match me." Evelyn tilted her head. "Then maybe stop underestimating us." He swung wildly again, missing entirely. His weight carried him forward. Evelyn pivoted, driving her fist into the crack in his chest plate she'd made earlier. The blow landed with surgical precision. The armor shattered. Korath screamed. His weapon fell from his hand, clattering to the floor. Evelyn kicked it aside. The arena fell completely silent. She stood over him, breathing steady, her face streaked with blood and dust. Korath looked up, trembling with rage and disbelief. "What are you?" Evelyn looked down at him, eyes cold as the void. "Human." He swung one last desperate strike with his claws. She caught his wrist mid-swing and twisted until bone cracked. The sound was final, sharp, absolute. Korath collapsed onto one knee, gasping. The great unbroken had been broken. Evelyn turned to the silent crowd, then back to him. "I told you," she said softly. "Mercy isn't in our vocabulary." The timer rang, signaling the end of round 2. Evelyn walked to her corner, limping slightly, blood marking her path. She didn't look back. "The human doesn't fight like a soldier. She fights like evolution itself." And somewhere deep within the Dominion's core worlds, fear took its first breath. The third round began under a different kind of silence, one not born of mockery or disbelief, but unease. The crowd didn't cheer. They whispered. The arena felt smaller now. The lights seemed sharper, the air heavier. The galaxy's undefeated champion bled, limped, and breathed hard for the first time in living memory. Across from him, the human stood still, wounded but steady, her presence somehow louder than the billions watching her. Evelyn Drake rolled her shoulders once, feeling the ache spread through her ribs. The cut on her side burned, but her heartbeat was calm. She had learned long ago that pain was information, not weakness. Korath stood with his armor half cracked and his fury fully awake. His spear had been reforged in moments between rounds, glowing white-hot. Every breath steamed in the cold air. "You should have died already," he hissed. Evelyn's voice was soft. "You've been saying that since the first round." His claws flexed. "You mock your own execution." "No," she said. "I correct false predictions." The arena's boundary lights flared, marking the start of the round. The sound that followed wasn't a roar, it was the deep hum of two wills colliding. Korath charged. This time there was no patience in his strikes. He didn't probe, didn't test, he attacked to kill. The spear spun through arcs of light, cutting trails of plasma into the air. Evelyn weaved through them, the blade's heat licking past her skin. Every movement was efficient, no wasted energy, no panic. She ducked a vertical slash, rolled under, and slammed her elbow into his leg again, aiming for the same weak spot. He countered, the spears half slamming into her shoulder, knocking her sideways. She hit the ground, rolled, and came up instantly. He sneered. You falter. She smiled faintly. You're learning to hit something. Progress. The taunt worked. He roared, swinging wide. She ducked inside his reach, striking the exposed section beneath his ribs. The impact made him stagger. He struck down again, missed, then caught her with a backhand that sent her sliding across the floor. Her palms burned as she caught herself on the obsidian. She coughed, spit blood, and rose. You rely on strength because it's all you understand. Korra's snarled, voice shaking. You rely on luck because it's all you have. Luck doesn't bleed opponents twice, she said. The crowd gasped as she advanced, slowly, deliberately, toward him. For the first time, the champion took a step back. Up in the command box, commentators from half the galaxy spoke over one another. The human is closing distance. Unbelievable. She's forcing him to react, not lead. Look at her stance. Calculated aggression, pure combat intuition. In a distant control room, analysts from a dozen empires argued over data streams. How is she tracking his patterns in real time? No implants detected. The human liaison watching the broadcast muttered under his breath. You don't understand. She's not reacting, she's adapting. Korra struck again, using his full height and weight to bear down on her. The spear's energy field shattered parts of the arena floor. Evelyn dodged narrowly, rolled through the dust, and swept his legs from behind. The alien fell heavily, tail crashing against the stone. Before he could recover, she was on him, kneeling on his chest, driving her forearm into his throat. He grabbed her arm and threw her off with a roar, but when he stood, his breathing was ragged. She spat blood onto the floor. You're strong, Korath. But you're fighting the wrong enemy. He blinked, confused. What? She took a step closer. You think this is about you? It's not. It's about what you represent, control through fear. Dominance without empathy. You're every empire that ever thought humanity should kneel. Her tone didn't rise, but the words hit harder than her strikes. He lunged, maddened. She sidestepped, letting his momentum carry him forward, and slammed her palm into the side of his head. The impact rang like a bell. His vision flickered for a second, his armor's systems overloaded. She didn't press. She waited. Korath turned slowly, realization dawning through the rage. You're baiting me. She tilted her head. It's working. The next exchange was brutal. He attacked in pure desperation, every movement meant to erase her existence. The floor split beneath his strikes. Evelyn avoided some, absorbed others, redirecting force through motion. Each second, his breathing worsened. Then she saw it, the micro-stutter in his left arm, the same injury she'd opened in round 2. He favored it unconsciously, leaving a gap. Her eyes narrowed. Timing was everything. He lunged one last time, spear thrusting forward like lightning. She pivoted, slid along the weapon's path, grabbed the haft, and used his own drive to spin around him. Her elbow came down hard on his wrist. The spear fell. He turned in panic, claws flashing. She grabbed his outstretched arm and snapped it backward with clinical precision. The crack echoed through the arena like a gunshot. Korath screamed, collapsing to one knee. The crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in stunned disbelief. Evelyn stood over him, breathing steady despite her wounds. Her voice was calm, almost cold. You built your empire on domination. You should have studied survival instead. He tried to rise, but she stepped forward and slammed her palm into his chest, breaking more of the cracked armor. His body convulsed, systems shorting. Sparks and blue fluid sprayed across the floor. He slumped, panting, fury dissolving into something far more dangerous, fear. You can't win, he rasped. You don't have our strength. Evelyn crouched low, close enough that her words cut like blades. Strength isn't what wins. Adaptation does. Then she stood and walked away from him, leaving him kneeling, broken. Above them, the galactic cameras zoomed in on Koratha's face, the once invincible warlord shaking, eyes wide, chest heaving. Commentators fell silent. In the observation box, alien diplomats whispered nervously. If she kills him, the Dominion will retaliate. The human envoy smiled faintly. If she lets him live, they'll still be afraid. That's better than respect. Korath staggered to his feet again. His pride refused to let him end it like this. He roared, blood spraying from his mouth, and charged without a weapon, using pure physical force. Evelyn didn't move. He swung with all his remaining strength. She stepped aside and used his momentum to drive her knee into his abdomen. The impact collapsed him instantly. He hit the ground face first, motionless. The arena lights flickered, then dimmed. Silence swallowed everything. Evelyn stood there for several seconds, breathing heavily but steady. She didn't raise her arms. She didn't gloat. She simply said, "End the round." A single chime echoed. The energy barrier deactivated. Medical drones rushed in toward Koratha's limp form, but Evelyn waved away her own attendants. Her side burned, shoulder throbbed, but her mind was clear. From the command platform, the announcer's voice trembled. The Unbroken has fallen again. The human leads 3 rounds to none. The crowd stayed silent for a heartbeat longer. Then the storm broke. Shouts. Screams. Shock. Fear. Billions of voices reacting at once to something impossible. But Evelyn heard none of it. She walked slowly toward the exit gate, blood dripping from her fingers, eyes focused on the shadowed tunnel ahead. Behind her, the greatest warrior of the Dominion lay unconscious. And for the first time in galactic history, the rest of the universe looked at a human, and saw not prey, not curiosity, not weakness. They saw a predator that had finally decided to hunt back. Koratha's breathing rasped through the medchamber like a machine gasping its last. His skin, once gleaming with pride, now hung dull beneath fractured armor plates. Every breath was pain. Every whisper of movement reminded him that he had been beaten. Outside, the Colosseum pulsed with silence. Billions of beings watched their champion's humiliation replayed across every broadcast network in the Dominion. No one cheered. No one spoke. In the control room above the arena, Dominion officials argued in low, panicked voices. She cannot be allowed to continue. It's destabilizing the sectors. She fights within the rules. Rules are for equals, not for contagions. The magistrate silenced them with a gesture. His crystalline eyes reflected the frozen feed of the human standing over Korath. Let the final round proceed, he said. The galaxy must see her die. Nothing else restores order. Evelyn Drake stood alone in the prep bay, watching her blood bead and evaporate against the sterilized floor. The drones hovered nervously, wanting to heal her wounds. She waved them off. Her handler's voice came through the earpiece, low and tight. They're changing the parameters. This next round isn't just Korath. She didn't look up. Explain. For elites. Augmented. They're calling it a ceremonial correction. Evelyn smiled faintly. A firing squad with an audience. Evelyn, this isn't like the others. You can't win this one. Extraction ships are inbound. If you move now, I'm not leaving. Static crackled. Then a sigh. You're doing this for pride? No, she said. For memory. If they want to make a lesson of me, I'll make sure they remember what it costs. She stood, rolling her neck once, and stepped toward the light. The arena gates opened to a storm of sound. Not cheering, howling. The Dominion crowd had turned feral, desperate to see blood wash away their fear. Evelyn emerged calm and deliberate, each step echoing against the metal floor. The wounds on her arm had been sealed with nothing but tape and grit. Her hair was damp with sweat. Her eyes cold and unyielding. Opposite her stood Korath, barely standing, supported by a skeletal exosuit that hissed with each motion. Around him, 4 Dominion elites stood in formation, massive, faceless, and armed with twin plasma blades that shimmered blue against the dust. The announcer's voice broke through the tension, almost trembling. Final match. 5 against 1. Trial of dominance begins. The lights cut to red. Korath struck first, roaring. The exosuit amplified his strength, propelling him forward faster than before. Evelyn moved instantly, sliding aside, letting him overshoot. The ground where he landed fractured under the impact. 2 elites followed, synchronized, blades slicing through the air. Evelyn ducked, kicked low, disarmed one with a fluid motion, and flipped the weapon into her grip. The crowd gasped. The second elite struck downward. Evelyn blocked, sparks exploding between the blades. The vibration rattled her bones. She twisted, driving the edge of her stolen sword across the alien's midsection. Blue light flared, armor splitting. The creature dropped to one knee. Evelyn spun, throwing the blade like a spear. It hit the first elite's throat, embedding deep. The two fell almost together. Korath roared, charging again. Evelyn barely rolled clear, the shockwave throwing her back into the wall. Her breath caught, vision blurring. The exosuit made him faster than ever. But faster meant heavier, more predictable patterns, more mistakes. She rose slowly, one hand pressing against her ribs. "You've traded strength for desperation," she said. Korath's voice was metallic now, amplified by the exosuit. "You traded mercy for extinction. Mercy," she said, "is for those who learn." He lunged. She stepped sideways, grabbing the forearm of the suit as it passed, and redirected the momentum. He stumbled forward off balance. She kicked his knee from behind, forcing him down for a split second, just enough to pull a blade from one of the fallen elites. She swung low, slashing the suit's joint. Sparks erupted, acid spraying her arms. She hissed through her teeth but didn't stop. Another swing, clean, brutal, cut through the leg actuator. Korath fell. She backed away, breathing hard, eyes darting between the remaining elites. They circled her now, cautious. Their movements were surgical, meant to end her quickly. Evelyn read their stance, counted their rhythm. One moved. Then both. She ducked under the first strike, blocked the second with the fallen blade, but the third, Korath himself, hit her square in the chest. She crashed against the arena wall, ribs cracking, vision exploding white. The world narrowed to heartbeat and noise. Korath approached slowly, towering above her. "You bleed. You breathe. That makes you mortal." She coughed, smiling faintly through the blood. "That makes me dangerous." He lifted his weapon, aiming for her throat. She rolled aside at the last second, the blade burying into the wall beside her. With a scream of effort, she pushed upward, driving her elbow into the broken joint of his arm. The exosuit cracked, metal screeching. Korath swung with his free hand, backfisting her into the center of the arena. She hit hard, skidding through dust. The crowd howled approval, their fear disguised as joy. The elites advanced again. Evelyn's body screamed in protest, but her mind remained razor clear. She scanned the ground, saw what she needed. A fallen elite's severed blade, still glowing. She pushed off the floor, lunged forward just as they struck. One blade skimmed her shoulder. She caught the second attacker's arm, twisted, and rammed the plasma edge into his chest. The explosion of energy vaporized both of them in a burst of blue flame. Silence. Smoke. 2 left standing, Korath and 1 elite. The last elite hesitated. She saw it, the flicker of uncertainty. She turned, speaking loud enough for the crowd to hear. "You fight for a god that can bleed." The elite froze. Korath roared and drove his blade through his own soldier's chest. The axe stunned even the crowd. "Only one fight matters," he growled, turning back toward her. "Yours and mine." Evelyn straightened, every breath agony. "Then come end it." He did. They met in the center, blades flashing, each strike echoing like thunder. His power shook the ground. Her precision cut through the chaos. Sparks flew, blood sprayed, and still neither fell. Korath slammed her down, pinning her arm beneath his foot. You are nothing. Evelyn grabbed a shard of his shattered armor and drove it upward into the soft junction beneath his jaw. He froze. She twisted. The exosuit convulsed, lights flickering out. Korath staggered backward, staring at her in disbelief. Impossible! Evelyn rose slowly, her silhouette framed by the burning floor. You called yourself the Unbroken. But everything breaks, Korath. Even gods. He tried to speak, but the words drowned in a gurgle of blood. He fell to his knees. Then to the ground. The arena went silent again, utterly, impossibly silent. Evelyn stood over him, breathing hard, the shards still dripping in her hand. Around her, the screens flickered, broadcasting the image across the galaxy. One human, unarmed, standing over 5 of the Dominion's finest. In the command box, the magistrate whispered, "End the transmission. Now." But it was too late. The signal had already spread, millions of worlds watching the impossible. Evelyn turned toward the crowd, her voice clear even through the chaos. You built your empire on fear. Remember this moment every time you think humans will bow. Then she dropped the blade beside Korath's corpse and walked away. No one stopped her. The crowd didn't roar this time. They watched her in silence, because for the first time, they understood something terrifying. The Unbroken had fallen. And humanity had just proven it never would. The image spread faster than light. Across the Dominion's thousands of worlds, the transmission looped endlessly, a single human standing over the corpse of the Unbroken. No soundtrack. No commentary. Just the raw feed, the blade falling, the champion collapsing, and Evelyn Drake walking away through fire and silence. Governors panicked. Commanders questioned. Priests of the Dominion's creed fell to their knees before altars that suddenly seemed less eternal. The empire that had conquered 100 species with the promise of invincibility now faced a single, devastating truth: one human had shattered the illusion. On the capital world of Vor, the council convened in the Hall of Judgment. The ceiling shimmered with holographic light, projecting every battle, every record of Korath's victories, until the last one froze mid-frame. His lifeless body. The human silhouette. The magistrate slammed a clawed hand on the table. This cannot stand. Erase the feeds. Contain the narrative. Destroy all evidence of the match. Another counselor hissed. Too late. The human channels have already mirrored it. Every colony, every port, every ship in the frontier is watching. You can't unmake a legend once it's born. The magistrate's voice sharpened to a razor. Then we make her a villain. From the shadows of the hall, a figure stirred, Commander Rintal, Supreme Warden of the Dominion fleets. His scales glinted like obsidian. That will not work, he said calmly. Villains inspire rebellion as easily as heroes. The magistrate's jeweled eyes narrowed. What do you suggest, then? Rintal's smile was cold. We make her disappear. Far from the capital, Evelyn sat aboard a transport vessel bound for neutral orbit. Her body screamed with pain. Every muscle burned. Her shoulder had swollen from the impact of Korath's final strike. Yet she sat upright, eyes fixed on the viewport where the stars drifted past like silent witnesses. Her handler's voice came through softly. You're officially the most dangerous person alive. She didn't answer. They're calling you a myth. Half of them think you're some genetic weapon. The rest think you're already dead. Evelyn smiled faintly. Good. Let them argue. You realize what you did, right? You didn't just beat their champion. You broke their faith. They believed in his invincibility. Her gaze didn't move from the stars. That's the problem with faith built on fear. It collapses the moment something fights back. The line went quiet for a moment before the handler spoke again. Evelyn. Command wants to extract you to Seoul. Full debrief. No more show matches. Tell Command no, she said simply. Excuse me? I'm not finished. 2 days later, the Dominion struck back. The broadcast began on every network simultaneously, the magistrate, regal and composed, speaking before the galaxy. His tone was calm, almost sympathetic. The creature known as Evelyn Drake has violated the laws of honor. She is not a soldier, but a weapon of deception, a genetic aberration unleashed by a primitive world. Her defilement of the sacred arena is a declaration of war. As he spoke, the screen showed edited footage, her face framed with distortion, her movements sped up to seem inhuman. The crowd's gasps were replaced with sound effects of terror. In response, the magistrate continued, "The Dominion will launch Operation Purity. Every human colony in contested space will be cleansed. Their species must learn consequence." Billions cheered. Billions more fell silent. But humanity heard too. And humanity remembered. In orbit around a mining colony near Tau Cygni, Admiral Helena Voss watched the transmission end. Her jaw tightened. The room was silent except for the low hum of reactor noise. "Order the fleets to full readiness," she said. A lieutenant hesitated. "Admiral, Earth hasn't authorized." "Earth doesn't have to." She turned, eyes sharp as glass. "They made this personal the moment they called one of ours a creature." Back aboard her vessel, Evelyn read the declaration. Every word was predictable. Every threat calculated. But one phrase caught her attention: Operation Purity begins at dawn, targeting the colony of Erythra 9. That was her birthplace. She closed the file. The hum of the engines was steady, like a heartbeat. Her own pulse matched it. "Misha," she said quietly. From beneath the seat, a movement, a soft snarl. The honey badger, her impossible companion, lifted its head, eyes black and calm. Scars crossed its muzzle from the arena. "They're coming for our home," she said. "Let's return the favor." The creature blinked once, as if understanding, then settled back down. Hours later, her ship dropped from FTL just outside Erythra's orbit. The colony hung below, a red and gold world, quiet and small. But above it, the void rippled with the arrival of Dominion warships. Evelyn stared at the display, reading the power signatures. 5 cruisers. 2 carriers. 1 command dreadnought, Rintal's flagship. So, they had sent the warden himself. She stood, tightening the straps on her tactical vest. Her body still ached, her ribs barely healed, but her mind was crystalline clear. The handler's voice broke through again, sharp and worried. "Evelyn, what are you doing? That's a Dominion fleet. You can't fight them." "I don't need to fight them," she said. "Just remind them what they started." The first Dominion broadcast came minutes later, a transmission from Rintal himself, projecting across the colony's surface. "People of Earth's frontier," his voice boomed, deep and resonant. "Surrender your outpost and deliver the fugitive known as Evelyn Drake. Do so, and you will be spared." Evelyn stepped into frame, intercepting the signal. Her face appeared on every Dominion ship. "No," she said softly. "You had your chance." The bridge crew froze. Even Rintal's eyes narrowed. "You think you can face me alone?" he said. "I already faced your god," she replied. "You're just another priest." The battle began. Erythra's orbit filled with fire. Dominion fighters swarmed toward the planet like a black tide. Evelyn's single transport darted between them, smaller and faster, weaving through plasma bursts. She piloted by instinct, every motion precise. When a missile locked on, she let it chase her into the shadow of a carrier and flipped the ship in a hard roll. The missile struck its own hangar bay. Her hull shuddered from the blast. Warnings screamed across the console. She silenced them all. "Misha," she said. "Hold on." The honey badger growled, bracing against the seat as she dove through the fleet. On the Dominion flagship, Rintal watched the chaos. "She's one ship," an officer stammered. "Then why are you sweating?" Rintal said. He leaned forward. "Lock all guns. Target the surface. End this." But before the command could execute, the flagship's lights flickered. A data breach warning flared across every console. The wreckage of the Dominion fleet still drifted in orbit above Erythra like the shattered bones of a god. Thousands of burning fragments traced slow paths across the red sky, their light fading into dawn. The silence that followed was not peace, it was all. Across human space, from the Martian colonies to the outposts at Alpha Proxima, the feed spread, one woman, one ship, one impossible victory. No anthem played, no speech followed. The image alone was enough. Humanity didn't celebrate. It remembered. Evelyn Drake stood in the observation bay of her ship, her reflection fractured by cracks in the glass. She looked smaller now, the exhaustion carved deep beneath her eyes. Misha lay at her feet, silent, only the faint rise and fall of its chest proving it was still alive. Her handler's voice broke through the calm. "You've ignited a storm, Evelyn. The Dominion lost 3 sectors overnight. Their vassal species are rebelling." She didn't turn from the viewport. "And the Council? They're trying to contact you. They want to call you a hero." Her lips twitched faintly. "Heroes die on pedestals. I'm still standing." On the Dominion capital, chaos spread like infection. The magistrate's palace burned under riots. Soldiers turned their weapons inward as the Empire fractured. The once immortal Dominion was learning the cost of arrogance. Commander Rintal, scarred and barely alive, stood before the remnants of the High Council. His voice, usually composed, now trembled with fury. "This was one human. One! You let her destroy our fleets, our reputation, our faith." The magistrate's jeweled eyes dimmed. "Faith cannot be destroyed, Commander." Rintal slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Then tell that to the colonies that have already declared independence." The silence that followed was thick with fear. Rintal straightened, exosuit hissing softly. "If the Dominion is to survive, we must hunt her down and end the human threat. No diplomacy. No restraint." The magistrate regarded him for a long moment. "And if you fail again?" Rintal's mouth twisted into something between a smile and a snarl. "Then there will be nothing left to fail." Evelyn's ship cut through the void, bound for Earth. The stars stretched around her like silver scars. The hum of the engines was steady, familiar, almost comforting. Her ribs still ached from the battle. She hadn't slept in 2 days. But her mind was sharper than ever. She replayed the Dominion transmission in her head, their words, their tone, the arrogance in every syllable. It wasn't anger that filled her now. It was clarity. Misha stirred beside her, claws tapping the metal floor. The animal's black eyes met hers, calm and unreadable. "They'll come again," she murmured. "Stronger this time." The badger's only response was a low growl, more instinct than agreement, but she understood it anyway. She closed her eyes briefly. "Then we don't hide. We prepare." 3 days later, she stood before the United Terran Assembly, an ocean of delegates, officers, and civilians. The chamber was a sphere of light and glass suspended above Earth's atmosphere. Through the floor, the curve of the planet glowed blue and gold. Evelyn wore no uniform. Just the same dark jacket from the arena, bloodstains scrubbed but not gone. Her presence silenced the room before she even spoke. The Prime Delegate leaned forward. "Captain Drake, the Council honors your courage. You've done more than any fleet. You've given humanity its first victory against the Dominion." Evelyn's eyes met his. "And you think they'll forgive that?" Whispers rippled through the chamber. She continued, voice low but steady. "They will not retreat. They will rebuild, stronger, angrier. They'll send legions, fleets, weapons we've never seen. You can't negotiate with an empire whose faith depends on your extinction." A delegate from the Martian Union spoke up. "Then what do you suggest?" "We're outnumbered 10-1. Evelyn looked at the stars through the transparent dome. "Numbers don't win wars. Conviction does. Adaptation does. You can build ships, train soldiers, but what you need first is a reason worth fighting for." Her words hung in the air, heavy, electric. "Every empire that's ever existed believed the same thing," she continued. "That humans were small, predictable, containable. But every time they've tried to break us, we've learned, we've evolved, and then we've answered. She paused, letting her gaze move across the faces before her. You don't need another army. You need to remind them who we are. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Some fearful, some inspired. The Prime Delegate leaned forward again. And what are we, Captain? Evelyn's voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner. We are the species that looks into the dark and steps forward anyway. Outside, the galaxy shifted. In the shadow of collapsing trade routes, the Dominion's client species rose. Worlds that had been silent for centuries broadcast defiance. Fleets once sworn to the magistrate now burned the Dominion's banners and painted their hulls with a new symbol, an open hand clutching a flame. It spread faster than any invasion. They called it the human spark. Back aboard her ship, Evelyn sat before the holographic map. Red lines marked Dominion space, flickering with static where rebellions flared. Blue lines, human colonies, expanded outward, cautious but resolute. Her comm pinged. A face appeared, Admiral Helena Voss. You've started a movement, Voss said. No, Evelyn replied. The Dominion did. I just lit the match. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You know they'll come for you first. Evelyn nodded. They should. Voss hesitated. Earth wants you in command of a fleet. 20 ships. Strike Force designation, Phoenix. A faint smile crossed Evelyn's lips. You really shouldn't name things after birds that burn. Voss smirked. Then we'll make sure you rise afterward. The transmission cut. Evelyn leaned back in her seat, exhaustion pressing against her bones. Misha climbed onto her lap, curling up with a low rumble. She absently scratched behind its ears. You and I started something we can't stop now, she said softly. Guess that's humanity's curse. The creature made a soft sound, halfway between a growl and a purr. On the Dominion capital, Rintal stood before a vast window overlooking the ruined cityscape. The magistrate had fallen. The council was gone. Power now belonged to whoever dared take it. Rintal's reflection stared back, scarred, furious, alive. He whispered, They think they've won. But they've only awakened the storm. Outside, the night sky flickered with the glow of departing warships, his warships. A new crusade had begun. In the cold void between stars, Evelyn's ship glided silently, sensors scanning the black. The stars ahead shimmered faintly, new worlds, new dangers. Her reflection in the glass looked calm, but inside she felt the weight of something larger than vengeance. This wasn't about a fight anymore. It was evolution. She keyed the comm, voice low. To all human fleets, this is Captain Drake. The Dominion believes we're fractured, afraid. Prove them wrong. You are not fighting for revenge. You are fighting for the right to exist. She paused, then added, When they look into the dark and see us coming, I want them to remember the arena. Her hand hovered over the controls. Outside, stars shifted as her fleet assembled, a formation of fire and R. As the fleet leapt into FTL, the stars blurred into streaks of silver fire. Humanity wasn't running anymore. It was coming.